Nick, let's spin this forward. What is the future for Philadelphia now? What does it look like after the Sixers got swept by Boston? Opening round here this year.
I mean, murky and awful. And listen, we know what's going to happen today or tomorrow or in the next few days. As Broussard's been talking about, he's going to be proven obviously correct. Brett Brown's going to get fired. But I thought Doris Burke did a brilliant job in slowly and methodically cutting down the Sixers organization in the final moments of last night or yesterday afternoon's game, talking about how they got to this point. Derek Bodner, a great writer, pointed this out on Twitter. 4 years ago, the Sixers had Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, the third overall pick, a pick coming from the Kings, a pick coming from the Lakers, Dario Saric, Robert Covington, and 2 max cap spaces. Since then, they've gone through a GM who got fired for having burner accounts. Now they've got a former player running the team, and what they have gotten from that is Tobias Harris at $180 million. You've got Al Horford, who does not fit at all. Josh Richardson, who's making egregious turnovers. Ben Simmons hasn't improved. And Broussard, now most importantly, Joel Embiid seems broken emotionally. Broken's too strong. Beaten down emotionally. So what do you have to show for it? Like, Hinkie had to do this whole process and go through sports hell. And what's on the other side is you get to the second round twice. That's it. That's what you have to show for it. You never play even in conference finals. So I think the Sixers are in rough shape, Broussard.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it on the head. The front office cannot, be blameless in this situation. That doesn't mean I'd replace them. I would take inventory of my entire organization, see what we're not doing correctly, and go from there. But I'm not convinced you have to change the front office regime. Obviously, as you said, you're changing the coach. All right, you got a Mark Jackson out there. I'd love to see him get it. I don't know that he would. I think this is a job that Jeff Van Gundy's name should be mentioned about, because you need somebody to hold these players accountable. Josh Richardson, who, remember, came from the championship culture down in Miami, he said last night after the game, and I don't think it was the first time, we need more accountability. Brett Brown's a great guy. Everybody likes him, but we need more accountability. All right, so that's what the next coach needs to bring. Here's what I would do. I would keep Embiid and Simmons. I wouldn't trade them this offseason. I would get a coach that I believe, whether it's through his interview or through his past history, who can maximize Simmons and Embiid together, all right, where they can both play close to their best basketball on the court at the same time. And then if it doesn't work out next year, if they go out prematurely, then I move on. And the guy I trade is Embiid. I trade him for a perimeter star who can shoot and other shooters. And then I play Ben Simmons like Milwaukee plays Giannis.
Nick, I'm going to throw it to you here. I don't know what you do, Broussard. I think it's interesting, like, you try to bring in a coach that can make those guys work, but I don't know if there is a coach that can make them work. I don't know if Stan Van can do it. And when you talk about blowing up the front office, it reminds me of like the Bugs Bunny Looney Tune when you have the TNT and you're trying to blow up the Roadrunner. Or it's the Roadrunner, not Bugs Bunny. Excuse me, I get my cartoons confused. And you'd hit the TNT and it actually blows you up. It might be the people that are detonating it might need to be detonated, Nick.
Yeah, listen, I'm not saying you fire the front office. What I'm saying is the front office has done a terrible job. Like, now you can recover from it, I suppose, but they've done a terrible job up to this point. And now, Broussard, you're talking about potentially moving off Embiid. I want to ask you, Brandon, as a player, what's your reaction to hearing Joel Embiid in the midst of a massive contract extension with multiple years left on his deal, openly opining on the podium about if his future lies within the organization? When you hear that, what does it tell you?
Well, first, Nick, you have to look at the locker room and the boardroom. Let's start with the boardroom. This organization has rushed to capitalize off these 2 superstars the last 4 years. You guys said it, so you have to hold them accountable. And I don't think you rush it. I think you're right, Chris. I think you hold this team together for at least half a season. But then when you go to the locker room, look at his body language. That's your star. That's your leader. Have you ever seen your lead? Look at this. No. This is the reason why we're losing. There's no reason why he himself shouldn't at least won one game. This is not what you want out of your superstar. His mindset, his language, his body language, all of it says is loser, loser, loser mentality. He needs to fix that. He needs to look himself in the mirror before he can look at anybody else in this organization. They gave you the keys to get the job done. Y'all have everything y'all need in that building.
And a great article, I read it on Yahoo. I wish I could shout out the writer, but I'm not certain. I think it was Chris Haynes, but I might be wrong on that. My apologies if I am. About how it fell apart, and one of the reasons Jimmy Butler didn't love the culture there and thought guys were a little soft and couldn't take criticism. And so I do think that's well taken. But Broussard, the other thing that I think is fair to say about this Sixers team is their two stars are immature. It is immaturity when it comes to Ben Simmons not evolving his game. It might be a different type of immaturity, but that is professional immaturity. When I started this show, if there was one thing, and there were 1,000 things I need to work on, and I still do, but the point, if there was one thing, everyone's like, Nick, you'll be great if you just stop doing this. And 3 years later, they're like, Nick, you'd be great if you just stop doing this. It's like, okay, well, that's professional immaturity. And Embiid, with respect, his struggles with his weight, his struggles with his comments after the game, mocking a reporter for asking a legitimate question, and his body language, Broussard, that's immaturity. And these guys aren't little kids anymore. Embiid's been in the league a long time to still be that immature, and Ben Simmons getting a pass here because he didn't play. But his game not evolving is immature, Broussard.
I totally agree. And that's why even if Simmons had been there, they still would have lost to Boston. Maybe they would have got them 6 games, but they would have lost. I agree, but that's why they brought in Al Horford. Now, they thought that Al would be that great professional locker room presence and leader that helped these guys mature. Turns out his personality is not strong enough to do that. But, Nick, you look, is Horford overpaid? Yes. Is Tobias a little bit overpaid? Sure. But the fact is they have talent, Nick. They do have talent. And those two guys, while they may not be great leaders, they are great professionals. They are high character guys, both of them. So if I can get the right coach, yeah, okay, we're not going to have cap room to go add this and that. But they've got enough talent where they should be able to compete in the Eastern Conference.
Chris, you're missing it. Talent only takes you so far, Chris. Chris, talent only takes you so far. We're looking at his body language. You can't change that. The coach can't change Embiid's body language. If you don't correct that, you can't win. Talent only takes you so far. Embiid needs to look himself in the mirror. That's what he needs to do. He's either check his own attitude and his body language. Look at this. That's bad. If I'm his play, you are the star. It's a trickle-down effect. What do you think the number 6 guy on the bench, the 8th guy on the bench, what do you think he is looking at? What is he going to follow? This is why the Peyton Mannings of the world, the Lisa Leslies of the world have been champions for so long, because they don't tolerate that. This is not leadership.
Listen, it's a great point, Brandon. And as far as the Sixers, listen, if you need a great locker room guy, that's what with respect, my pal Jared Dudley's for at the veteran minimum. You don't give Al Horford $100 million to be your locker room guy. That is the highest paid Svengali in league history, and he wasn't even good at it this year. If you need a coach from the bench, you can find those guys. You ain't got to spend a max cap spot on them, Jenna.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.